Thanks for logging on to NASCAR.com for this week's edition of Fantasy Showdown. We bring you a rotating panel of experts to try and help you with your fantasy picks. This week, producer Jason Sholin, and we've got Mike Bell from Green and White Checkered and assorted other things you might see here on NASCAR.com. Hey, great to see you guys. We're going to start off, before we get to Bristol, and take a look at the standings. First of all, last week's results, a shout-out to SmokeFan 6614. Guys, 1,038 points. Are you kidding me?
This new point system, we're still trying to get a handle on it here. This new fantasy scoring system. That is amazing. He knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, unbelievable. Overall standings now, we have to give the mention to Joe Menser, who's obviously doing great. 98-point advantage for our writer there over Adam Alexander. So there you go. There's a look at the standings. We won't talk about where I am because everybody I pick seems to crash.
You are the little acorn that becomes the big oak.
Exactly. I still feel good about my picks. I just keep crashing. All right, let's talk about this week. Speaking of crashing, we're heading to Bristol. So, guys, Jason, you're up in the standings. We'll start with you. Give us a stud this week for Bristol.
I'm going to go with Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch, coming off that weekend sweep, it was historic. You know, sweeping all three of the events last year. He's finished first or second, 4 out of his last 5 in the Cup side. And overall, over the course of his career, he's won 1/3 of his starts. Plus, in this new system, leading laps, we saw that's huge, especially at a track like Las Vegas. But at Bristol, there's 500 laps to be led. So that's 250 points if you lead every lap. And Kyle Busch is the kind of guy that can get up front, lead a lot of laps. He's led over 1,100 in the last 5 races alone. So Kyle Busch, I think, is a great pick for this weekend.
All right, Mike, what
First
about
off,
you, stud?
I'm stunned because he's our producer for Green White Checkered. And if he had another kid, it would be like Walker and Texas Ranger. It'd be Jimmy and Johnson, Sheldon. Not going with Jimmy, but that's the vagaries of Bristol because it's about a bad pit stop or if you get behind the wrong car. Jimmy wins the spring race and finishes 35th in the night race last year. So
thanks to Juan Montoya.
And again, that's my dud for later. But I'll tell you what, I think the Fords are dialed in. I think the horsepower was an issue last year for Roush Fenway. Biffle and Carl Edwards could be the player, but I think Carl right now, I'm going to go with the hot hand. I'm going to take the 99 to get it to victory lane. He knows how to win, and that backflip is very dangerous on the 36 degrees of banking, but watch the man get it done.
All right, well, let's go to duds right now. And you said, did you hint at already who we're going to see for you?
Yeah, Juan Pablo. Just when you're watching him at Bristol, you think, hey, this is the year he finally figures it out, and then he screws it up. He gets tore up, whether it's too aggressive late or somebody's got a score to settle from a previous race. Juan Pablo Montoya, I think this is still a great mystery. He has not unwrapped it yet. He hasn't figured it out.
All right, how about you, Jason? Dud for you, guy we want to stay away from?
Overall, Kevin Harvick, of course, is a great driver, but I think for Bristol, he's just way too expensive. Over $29, the second most expensive guy in this fantasy league right now. You can't go with a guy like Kevin Harvick, who over the last 5 races, he's led absolutely 0 laps. And over the last 4, his average finish is over 23. So Kevin Harvick is too expensive for what you're going to expect from him.
I like the mix we have here, by the way. The producer giving us all the numbers and the
Mike with the
gut, Mark. From the gut.
And the impressions here to my left. All right, let's go with this is where you guys really earn your keep here. Okay, ones to watch. This is where I start taking notes. Guys who, hey, we don't have to probably spend a lot of money on, but can give us a value at this track. Jason, we'll start with you.
I'm going to go with Dale Jr. Now, this is a guy who usually was our regular dud of the week, it seemed, every week. But I think Steve Letarte has really turned that 88 team around. It looked good at Daytona before he got wrecked out, and back-to-back top 10s after that. So I think he's looking really good this year. I want to say he's finished top 15 and 17 in his last 19 races at Bristol, and he's won here before. So I think Dale Jr. might turn some heads this weekend.
More numbers. There you go.
Last time Junior won, I think Busch was in the White House at that race. But no, I mean, I tell you what, as we said, there's so many different ways you can go because you can go from worst to first so quickly at Bristol. Marcos Ambrose is getting better. He's kind of crept into like top 20s now at Bristol. I'm going to go with the Thunder from down under and over in Tasmania. I'm going to take Marcos Ambrose. Now, last year he said, hey, man, decent team, but the car was This year he's got a pretty good car, so I think he's going to make some noise, and it could start at Bristol.
All right, there you go. Well, I hope that helps you out a little bit. Some studs, some duds, and definitely ones to watch. Guys, really appreciate it. Thank you for logging on for this week's edition of Fantasy Showdown. Of course, for all your fantasy news, games, etc., head to NASCAR.com/fantasy. We'll see you again next week.